is not overkill. Having a variety of guns for a variety of reasons, and a variety of, because each gun has its own type of usefulness in the way it's used. I mean, you use a shotgun for one thing, you use a rifle for one thing, you use, a certain type of handgun for another thing, and you use a certain other type of handgun for another thing. So it's okay to have Bert's basement. You got all your bases is covered, including every ISIS basis. But yes, the ISIS is reporting a grim online warning from a self-described American jihadist. It said Sunday's terror attack in Texas was a work of ISIS, and that the terrorist group has scores of trained soldiers positioned in 15 states awaiting orders to carry out more operations. There's a again, art imitating life. There's a TV series. Now, I've never seen it, but I've caught the previews of it, the commercials for it. And it's about sleeper cells of Russians, communists, I guess, here in the United States. And they get, they're living as Americans, immigrated, and they become naturalized, that type. They're supposed to be naturalized Americans. They have a kid, but the kid turns out not to be theirs, I don't think. I'm not sure. But they get activated to be spies. They're sleeper spies. So look, if we know this type of thing happens, with the Russians and the Chinese, why is it so hard to believe or understand that radical Islamists can do the same thing? Now, understand, we've got, what was it, the last total, some 5 million Muslims in this country now? I don't know. I heard somebody say 9 million. So we're approaching 10 million anyway it goes. Do you think that some of them, not to mention they are converting some Americans into over to Islam? So do you possibly see how it is possible that we could have sleeper agents here in the United States for ISIS and Al-Qaeda and other radical Islamic terrorist groups? Abso-freaking-lutely. They're here. And now, I don't want to alarm anyone, but understand, they have to live somewhere. So if you're in one of these 15 states, maybe one of these sleeper agents is living in your apartment building or on your street. Maybe he's your neighbor. Maybe he is one of your coworkers. Now, I don't want everybody to go to work tomorrow and be suspicious of every Muslim, because understand, Muslims are not just Arabic. I know people are going to look at somebody who's of Iraqi or Afghani or Iranian descent or something like that, and look, folks, you would be stupid to think that those are the only radical Islamists. You would be really, really stupid. Because Islamists come in, look, they come in many forms. Indonesia is a Islamic nation, but they're Asian. There's a growing number of Indians from India, turning into Muslims, Islam. There are a number of white Americans who have converted to Islam. So, come on. Tell me, which by looking at them, unless they're fully dressed in Islamic garb, which a lot of times they are not, because under the Quran, it is perfectly legitimate under the Quran and legalized by Allah to go ahead and lie to your neighbor and try to fool them and hide from them and do everything possible to trick them in order to achieve Allah's goal. So they're allowed to lie to you. They're, unlike, Christians and Jews, who say you should not lie. They're encouraged to do so, just so they can achieve their goal. And so you're not going to be able just to look at somebody and determine, well, okay, this guy, he's he's a Islamist radical jerko. You're not going to be able to know. Look, did you know? Let me tell you why. During World War II, there were German spies. Now, these German spies were very, very good. You couldn't tell a German necessarily from an American or an Allied soldier. Why? Because they were European, white, like many of the soldiers on the Allied side. The thing is that they were taught so well that they got rid of their accent when they spoke English. They would then garner American military or Allied soldier uniforms, especially American, because then they would drop the German accent when they were speaking English and have an American accent, and they fooled everybody. Now, the only reason that they were caught up is because they didn't have the full knowledge of American culture, because they didn't live here. So there were some things that were missing that tripped them up, and that's how we learned about them. But see, now we have people that are living here. They can learn how to get rid of their accent. They can learn how to blend in. They know the American culture because they're here. That's why they're called sleeper cells. Because to the rest of us, they're kind of asleep. We don't know who they are. But when they pop up, it is at the most inopportune time. It is usually going to be at the most unexpected time. I mean, we might expect, every 9/11, September 11, for there to be some sort of attempt. And we might, expect on a July 4th or on a Memorial Day or a Veterans Day or some holiday. But what we don't expect is what happened in Texas. Now, a lot of people are saying, and I'll get into this too, because there's a bunch of BS flying around about this, of this woman having a fatwa put on her head, and she never should have had this cartooning contest in the first place because it was so explosive. I'll get into that. The point is that you cannot know every instance of when something is negative, bad, is going to happen. You just have to be prepared for when it does. Now, I got to tell you that there are a lot of people that don't want you to be prepared because they want you to believe that, oh, well, we'll take care of you. The government will take care. No, the government can't always do that. I don't know what part do people not get that the government can't always do that. They can't always protect people because they can't be there all the time. But knowing this, we need to be able to protect ourselves and be prepared for what might happen. Because, they're telling us, even if they do not have 71 operatives. Now, I don't know why they would think that they would have a need to lie. They think they're going to scare us to death. Obviously, we've listened to them talk about having, not just ISIS, but other terrorist groups talking about having cells here in the United States. And we don't go and run and hide from them. But here's an organization who we know is across our border in Mexico, who's had plenty of access to get across the border undetected. So you got to ask, are they really that far off? Look, maybe they don't have 71. But what if they just have 3 or 4 or 5? Can 3 terrorists do damage? 2 terrorists almost did some damage. Can 3 of them do damage? Yeah, they can do a hell of a lot of damage. Now, this warning, which was posted on a file sharing site, could not be verified, but was signed by Ibrahim al-Amariki, Now, that name matches the moniker of a shadowy American known to have joined a terrorist group in Pakistan several years ago and has appeared in propaganda videos before. Now, the chilling threat named 5 of the states where it is claimed that ISIS has terror cells in place. Out of the 71 trained soldiers, the site said, 23 have signed up for missions like Sunday. We are increasing in number, read the wording. Of the 15 states, 5 we will name Virginia, Maryland, Illinois, and California, and Michigan. Now, I don't look. Michigan is, especially lower Michigan with Detroit and everything, that's already in bad shape. I don't know why they think they got to go after Michigan. But they named Michigan. California, yeah, I'm surprised New York isn't on the list. But that's probably a fait accompli. That's, New York is always on the list to be attacked, especially New York City. Now, an intelligence source told Fox News U.S. officials were assessing the threat, but does not believe it came from the ISIS leadership. It may have come from an opportunist, such as a low-level militant seeking to further capitalize on the Garland incident. Well, he can try to capitalize all he wants, but he's making some waves now, isn't he? If he's a lower-level dude, he's definitely making some waves. And what's needed is people need to be able to protect themselves because of this guy. Because of, just in case. It's not something that you want to take lightly. Because every time we take something lightly, then we're reminded that we probably shouldn't have done that. Because then there's another attack somewhere. Now, sometimes these attacks succeed. Sometimes, most of the time, they do not. But do they have to succeed all the time to make an impact? I mean, they can even fail 100% of the time, but the negative impact on people and how safe and secure that they feel is tremendous. It is tremendous. Now, if you want to walk around and be scared all day long, then the Islamists win. But at the same time, if you walk around knowing perfectly well that you are safe and protected, either by outside forces or by your own hand, then you're not going to, live your life in fear and worry too much about what these idiots are saying. But you have to be in a position where you can be prepared to take care of yourself and not depend on some government lackey because, they might miss something and not be there in time. They can't be everywhere all the time. This isn't, we don't have a crystal ball. Nobody has a crystal ball to determine where the next attack is going to be attempted, by whom, and with what. And we can't sit around, like we're playing a game of Clue. Mr. Mustard, Colonel Mustard did it in the library with the Kendall stick. That's not going to happen. Now, they're claiming that there are 71 trained soldiers in the United States right now, running around, acting like Americans, acting innocent, like nothing is up, nothing is happening. And yet they are being told that at some point they will be asked to go and do what they were trained to do. So the question I have for you is, are you going to be ready if that person happens to be near you or in your neighborhood when they decide to pull the trigger? Because some people in your neighborhood are absolutely going to need you to help protect them. I'm just telling you the truth, folks. Don't doubt me. Don't doubt me at all.